Crappie are among the most sought after and caught species of fish in Kansas's lakes and reservoirs. Most anglers would agree that a plate of fried crappie fillets ranks with the very best of wild game foods. It's no secret that lake and reservoir fishing is usually best accomplished from a boat. Yet when surveyed, bank fishermen often list crappie fishing as their favorite pursuit. That's because crappie are shoreline spawners, and in Kansas during the months of April and May, crappie migrate to nearshore spawning habitats, and it is at this time that the persistent bank fishermen can reap a true crappie bonanza. In an effort to specifically improve shoreline fishing, Kansas's fisheries biologists often place habitat attractors along appropriate shorelines to attract spawning crappie. It can be difficult to time the crappie spawn, but when water temperatures approach 60 degrees, it's time to start checking some historic hotspots. Some banks warm up quicker than others. Areas protected from high winds and waves are often where crappie spawn first. The ideal spawning bed might be described as a gradually sloping bank of small gravel with some brush on it. But don't rule out steeper banks, as fish will spawn in a variety of habitats. As mentioned, it can be difficult to hit the peak of the spawn. In a perfect world, spring weather would be sunny and calm with light winds. The water temperatures would rise steadily and crappie would move into spawn and not retreat until the spawn was complete. The reality is that cold weather fronts and frequent spring rainstorms constantly cause unwelcome drops in water temperature. Crappie move shallow as the lake waters warm, only to be turned off when foul weather suddenly cools down the water temperatures. To catch the spawn, crappie fishermen must be persistent. If you can't check your favorite lake daily, develop a calling tree with other crappie-minded fishermen. Often daily postings can be found on the internet. Staying in touch with the conditions at your favorite lake or reservoir is really the only way to hit peak times during the crappie spawn. While the crappie spawn does not reach full bloom until surface water temperatures rise to 62 to 65 degrees, male fish can be caught in shallow spawning zones when water temperatures approach 55 to 60 degrees. As a result, good crappie fishing might occur anytime between mid-April to late May. Let's look at some of the ways bank fishermen can successfully fish for crappie. Some fishermen prefer to set and wait for fish to come to them. They may pull up a chair or sit on the bank to cast a slip bobber rig baited with a minnow or jig. And obviously this approach works. Riprap areas of fishing jetties or breakwater surrounding boat ramps, marinas, or bridge causeways are ideal fishing spots. Crappie often move in from deeper water to these shallow, rocky areas as nightfall approaches, and fishing is often best at sunset and again at sunrise. Other bank fishermen prefer to hunt for their crappie. They slip into chest waders and slowly stalk through likely-looking habitats. Since they're on the move, these fishermen usually fish with jigs. They stalk into flooded vegetation to lower their jigs vertically into likely hiding places. These wading fishermen can often fish places that no boat fisherman can reach or cast to without becoming snagged. Often, wading fishermen find crappie schooled in places that have no visual clues as to why the fish are there. These two young fishermen waded past the flooded brush found near the shoreline and accidentally found a bonanza of crappie staging for the spawn. They were persistent, and indeed their searching was rewarded. While not technically a bank fisherman, this gentleman demonstrates yet another way to catch crappie without a boat. Using a float tube is a great way to fish for hard-to-reach crappie spawning areas. It can even be a way to compete with boat fishermen in a cheap and efficient way.
There you go.
Since a crappie's lifespan is relatively short, most reservoirs don't have length limits. However, a few Kansas reservoirs do have a 10-inch minimum length limit, in addition to the 50-fish statewide creel limit on crappie. Some bodies of water have even more restrictive creel limits. So anglers are advised to check the latest Kansas fishing regulations summary when planning a trip to fish the crappie spawn. Other than setting length limits and creel limits, biologists are limited in ways to manage crappie in their lakes and reservoirs. The hit or miss timing of water level fluctuations in our Kansas lakes and reservoirs is beyond any fisheries biologist's control. Yet one thing is certain, there's nothing like a lake being down for one or more growing seasons and then filling back up quickly. This condition often results in a high crappie spawn success, and more importantly, the flooded vegetation supplies habitat for those young of the year fish in which to feed and hide from predators. The result can be a huge upswing in a lake's crappie numbers, resulting in spectacular crappie fishing 3 or 4 years later. Once the crappie spawn is over, crappie can be very hard to find. However, as summer progresses, hardcore crappie fishermen say you must give it a try. Chat Martin of Lawrence has spent countless hours fishing in tournaments or guiding clients to crappie. He's well known among avid crappie anglers and loves fishing for crappie most any time of the year. Chat shared his knowledge with Pomona Reservoir's fisheries biologist, Don George.
As we've all read in magazine article after magazine article, and even in some of the better known books on crappie fishing, they will tell you that after the spawn, all the crappie go deep. That is not so, and all you got to do is go out there and fish some of these shallow spots to find that. It takes some patience, but believe me, the rewards are going to be worth it. Today, on the main lake, windy, they're very hard to stay on brush piles. That's why we're in here. The wind, regardless of the direction, regardless of the speed of it, you can come in here and fish. And believe me, going shallow is the first place to go. And then if I can't catch them there, I steadily work out deeper. But I'm always going to be fishing this cover.
And you start shallow first and work your way out.
Always start shallow. It's got to prove to me that they're not there. One of the important things to do is he must have that cover. Standing timber is really good. Lay downs is good. But there are going to be fish shallow all year except wintertime. But summertime, from the springtime on till late fall, I will catch shallow fish. As shallow as you would if you was in spawning.
Summer is mostly a time for boat fishermen, or the adventurous float tube fishermen. A 9 or 10 foot long jigging pole is ideal for dipping trees, according to Martin. Anything longer makes it hard to work around trees, and you have to get your boat too close with anything shorter. He uses 10-pound test Power Pro high-vis yellow line on a spinning reel. Being able to see his line is critical to his technique.
Look at that, look at that, look at that. This is a high visibility line. I don't think there's crappie in a lake that's line shy. It's just, to me, it's just not possible. Whenever you can stick a black and chartreuse jig down there, and which there's nothing swimming in the lake that even closely resembles that, and you can catch a lot of crappie. Yellows, oranges, chartreuse. My gosh, you know, if somebody was going to ask me what color that you wanted for crappie, chartreuse would be it. But there's nothing swimming in the lake that's even closely resembles that color. So it's hard for me to believe that a crappie would come up, see this something that's not swimming in the lake at all, and hit it, or not hit it because there's yellow line hooked to it.
Right.
Now, something about line is I like to use the thinnest diameter line that I can use.
Why is that?
Because this dictates on how fast your jig falls. I want something that's going to fall fairly fast, but also too, I'm the one that's controlling that fall, as opposed to just throwing it out there and letting it drop. I am controlling how fast it falls down and how far it goes down. So as far as line size goes, I want the thinnest one I can so it will drop faster, or it'll drop the fastest I can on light jigs. If you had this jig on out there with 20-pound line, it may take twice the amount of time for it to get down. Now, is that bad? Well, no, it's not bad, but then again, you're letting the line control your fall, right, rather than you control it. And as I want to do, I want everything to be under my control so I can duplicate it. So therefore, I use the thinnest line I can get away with, and of course, you know, the line strength means a whole lot because you will snag up. So therefore, I have thin line with a high break strength, and you just missed one. Regardless of what anybody says, live bait works really, really well in the summertime. Can you catch fish on jigs? Yes. But your success ratio is going to be tremendously better if you're using live bait. So take care of your live bait, keep him aerated, keep him as lively as possible. You notice I got a styrofoam bucket here. I have a bait well. I only put about 5 or 6 minnows in this at a time, and I change the water out regularly. So keeping your bait lively and fishing shallow in the summertime is going to increase your catches immensely. So get out.
When fishing with minnows, he lowers the bait down slow and raises it up slow next to the tree. As soon as he feels a tick or sees the line move, he doesn't set the hook. He waits until he sees the fish move off with it. Then he sets the hook.
Got one biting right here.
Fishing with a jig is different. You must set the hook instantly if you feel or visually detect a bite.
Another nice fish.
Winter is a time when relatively few boaters hit the water. Yet many hardcore crappie fishermen insist that it's the very best time to load your freezer with crappie fillets. Craig Johnson is a fisheries biologist with the Kansas Department of Wildlife, Parks, and Tourism.
Well, wintertime crappie, a lot of times those crappie will concentrate up real hard. They're a schooling fish, especially in the winter. They'll get around creek channels, a lot of breaks. They like brush especially, and that's where a lot of anglers will target. So if you get out in the water and find good brush piles during the winter time, a lot of times those fish will be there for an extended period. So you just don't have one hot day. You'll be able to go out and have up to several weeks of good fishing in basically the same area. So once you find that winter pattern, they're pretty easy to keep up on.
Shane Eustace of El Dorado is a tournament fisherman and fishing guide. Shane discusses the critical aspects of wintertime fishing.
Winter crappie fishing, for those people that have a boat, you have an advantage because the crappie like to go into deeper water. They go into the creek channels, they go into the river channels, and you just don't find too many creek channels that run, 5 foot up along the bank lines. So having your boat and being able to get out on the water and fish in structure like we're doing today, it's a benefit for the fisherman that has the boat and that has done his homework and find the piles, structures for the crappie fishing.
Wearing a life vest or personal flotation device and never going alone are just a few rules that apply to cold weather fishing.
In wintertime fishing, I don't care who you are, don't go by yourself. Just do not attempt to go out. You fall in these cold waters, even though you might have your life preserver on, which you should have on, chances of getting back to the boat, the wind might blow your boat away from you. And no one out there, if you're going out by yourself, definitely call someone telling you you're going out. Let them know when you get back off the water. Just can't emphasize that anymore. You just have to, wouldn't you agree, you would have to let them know that you're out there.
Yeah, that way if something does happen, whether you have motor problems or if you do happen to fall in or something, at least somebody knows where you're at and where they should start looking for you.
While having a boat is most critical for wintertime crappie fishing, your boat must also be equipped with electronics. Without electronics, it is unlikely that you will find fish.
We was able to find these brush piles here using the HDS structure scan. We just troll along this brake line here and mark the brush piles as we came down through here, turned back around and started fishing them, and set on top of them vertical fishing with the 520C up front on the bow, able to separate the brush from the fish and actually caught a few.
That's a good pile right in there.
It is. Right now we're fishing it's a break. Oh, never mind.
There you go.
There's a nice one. Lift him right up to you, sir. That's what they look like. We're fishing this break here. We're coming out of 7 foot. We got a brush pile right off the 7 foot mark, going down to about 12 foot. And like we've been seeing all morning, we've noticed that the fish are actually higher in the column because the water looks like it's stained up a little bit. So I decided to come up on the higher side while Craig fished the deeper part. And we got a good, 13-inch crappie there. I'll give you some slack. And as you can tell, he stuck his hand down there quite a ways in that fish's mouth. They want them. When they decide to eat them, they're taking them.
Nice looking crappie. We'll throw him in the live well so he didn't tell all the other ones were up there.
In some years, the winter's cold can offer yet another opportunity for the boatless angler to fish for crappie. Ice fishing can be great fun. You'll need an ice auger, an ice strainer, a bucket to set on and to store your catch, and maybe a sled to haul your equipment to and from your fishing location. Most anglers find it best to use shorter rods when ice fishing. However, whatever you have will work.
That's a good one, looks like.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Fighting like a good one.
Oh yeah, good one.
Oh yeah, that's a real dandy there.
Jigs are commonly the lure of choice when ice fishing for crappie,
That's the kind you like
but
to
small
catch.
spoons work well too. If you are new to ice fishing, what you wear to ensure your comfort is critically important. You should dress in multiple layers. Start with 1 or more layers of thermal underwear. Over that, you can place loose-fitting pants, shirts, sweaters, and sweatshirts. Over these layers, you can use your choice of insulated overalls or coveralls. you should cover your head. A heavy stocking cap or a balaclava will work well.
Oh, yes. Wow. Stay on there, baby.
It's also best to bring 2 pairs of gloves in case one pair gets wet.
That time you dove in for it and got him.
You can always take layers off if you get too warm, but you can't add layers if you don't have them with you.
I was looking at that line, I didn't know if it was a fish or not.
With a little experience, you will quickly learn how to dress quite warmly, and you will be amazed at how comfortable you can be, even in extreme conditions.
Are you doing the dive technique here?
Choose a calm day for your first attempt at ice fishing. A brisk wind, combined with cold temperatures, can challenge the most experienced ice fishermen. As with any wintertime activity on the water, do not go ice fishing alone. 4 inches of hard, clear ice can support a human's weight. 6 inches can support the weight of an ATV. If you're not totally convinced that the ice is safe, cancel your outing. So whether you fish from a boat, near the shore, or on the ice, you can be a successful crappie fisherman during much of the year. If you're a novice wondering what the big deal is about crappie fishing, you should try it. Fry up your first batch of crappie fillets, and then you'll know.